surely it would make more sense to do this during the winter than now.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would have been perhaps a little more sensible to do it in a quieter time of year, but we're having to fall in with the council plans, really, the refurbishment plans for the whole place. I mean, Easter was quite good, but with the economy like it is, every day counts at the moment.
Running a cafe on Scilly is a hazardous way of earning a living at the best of times. And if you're not in a good location, it's even tougher. Right at the end of the Porthcressa beach, quite a walk from the town centre, there's a little restaurant converted from the old fire station called the Dibble and Grub. It's run by Gaz, and in the tiny kitchen is partner Button. Their season couldn't be getting off to a worse start. So what's happened, Gaz?
There's a power cut.
So this isn't the greatest of starts?
It's not the best start, no, but...
What are you going to do?
Ride it out?
You are going to open, are you?
To be honest, I don't know if we can actually open without any power, because obviously a lot of the equipment is electric, even just the till, so we can't actually really do very much.
How's morale back there?
Dark?
Yeah, great.
Are you able to do anything out there?
Well, luckily my oven is gas, so that's still happening.
You're able to provide some lunch?
It's going to be tricky because it's really dark through here. This hatch is the only light I've got coming through. Yeah, we'll give it a whirl.
It's a bit depressing, isn't it?
I don't know, you don't want to get too upset about these things, you know? It happens over here.
When the weather's as bad as this, few holidaymakers venture down the beach this far. So, power or no power, if it doesn't stop raining soon, Gaz and Button's little restaurant is going to be very quiet indeed. These are not the easiest times either for someone whose days on Scilly are numbered. The island's Methodist minister, the Reverend David Easton, has had to do much thinking recently. The future for him and the islanders is far from certain.
Oh, hello, is that Methodist Church House? Good morning. My name is David Easton. I'm phoning from the Isles of Scilly.
David knows he must leave Scilly soon, and over recent weeks he's been busy applying for jobs on the mainland. Yet far from becoming preoccupied about his own fate, the minister's much more concerned about what will happen to those he's leaving behind. Finding someone to replace him could be a real problem.
And also, if you could tell me... I think it'll be tougher for the people here. I move on, I've got a new opportunity, new doors are opening for me, or will do, I hope. And so I shall move on into that. Other people have to stay here and try and work out what it means for them and you know, work out their faith together. And that might be more difficult. That might be the tougher shot, actually, the tougher call than what I've got to deal with.
And of course, it's not assured that there'll be a minister to even be able to come and be on Scilly anyway, is it?
No, I mean, I very sincerely hope there is, because it's a very remote situation, and if we didn't have a minister here, it'd be extremely difficult. But I mean, as I said, there are more churches looking for ministers than there are ministers to fill those positions. So I suppose, yes, conceivably, there may not be a minister here. But I have to look to the future. I don't say that selfishly. It's not that I'm turning my back on people here. I would never want the people to think that. But I just know I have to move on.
One man in particular is very worried about the current low morale of many of the minister's congregation. Ever since a small group of church representatives voted in a secret ballot for David's removal over 6 months ago, his boss, the Reverend Steve Wilde, the head of the Methodists in Cornwall, has been paying a lot of attention to Scilly. The decision angered many and proved very divisive.
There's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain here. People love David very, very much. He is an exceptional minister. I need to be alongside them people, because I'm the chairman of all the Cornish Methodist churches. They are my people, and they're suffering.
At his home in Truro on the mainland, Steve's now working on a new plan to try to boost the islanders' spirits at this difficult time. On Scilly, with racing in the World Gig Rowing Championships at last getting underway, the sun obligingly comes out dead on cue. For one group of visitors, this is a moment they've been looking forward to for the last year. At Fiona Martin's B&B up on the Garrison, above the harbour, a contingent of Dutch rowers are settling down for breakfast. They've been bringing over their boats and families for this weekend for the last 11 years. And for Fiona herself, it's become more like a family reunion.
So how many of them have arrived, Fiona?
11, but we only take 6.
So where are the
11 with us. All over. They're like sardines.
Is it nice to have them back here?
Yeah, they're such good fun and good friends now, so it's very relaxed, quite different to normal, I should say normal guests.
Why is that?
Because they all sit at one table, they all muck in together, they're all good friends, whereas normally we've got maybe 3 individual couples who sometimes don't even talk to each other at breakfast.
There's a traditional exchange of gifts. Then it's down to some serious calorie intake for the strenuous racing that lies ahead.
You're being set up with a marvellous breakfast.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the best start of the day. Good breakfast, so we can put some power on the horse.
Sandra, one of the team leaders, can't wait to get started.
I'm very looking forward to today, because in Holland, well, gig rowing is still very small. And when you do have a competition, well, maybe we have 8 gigs. So to be out here today with 120 gigs, that is so massive, that is so, it's incredible. We hope we have a splendid race.
So in the first of the races, all eyes are very much on the debut of the new boat the Dutch have had built. After a slightly uncertain start, the newly blessed Flying Dutchman makes gradual progress through the small armada of more than 100 boats. The race is over 1.5 miles, and inch by inch, the Dutch boat edges towards the front of the pack, much to the delight of their enthusiastic coach. In the end, the Dutch boat completes a creditable debut amongst the leading group of boats to cross the finishing line. For once, the minister doesn't seem to be supporting the local island teams.
And can you see how well the Dutch crew have done?
No?
Yeah, the one I blessed is 3 steaming ahead. They're doing great. Yes, done really well, yes. Quick blessing from me and they're guaranteed to go to success.
They may not have won any medals, but Sandra and her husband Peter, who commissioned the new boat, are delighted with its performance.
Zeker het tweede stuk, tussen de pieren in. Ja, daar gaat hij als de brandweer. Ja.
Ja, ik zag jullie gaan. Dus,
ja, superleuk.
Ik ga nu.
Ja, succes.
Bye.
How did you get on?
Oh, it's fantastic. The weather is beautiful.
How was the boat?
And the boat is so fast.
But overall, you're really pleased?
Yeah, definitely.
Shouldn't you be out of breath?
I was earlier on, when I just came over the finish. Yeah.
Later, some of the classic sailing gigs put on a bit of a show. In the old days, there'd be dozens of boats like these out and about, busying between the 5 inhabited islands every day. The original ferries carrying passengers and all the cargo needed by the remoter island communities. After his sudden decision to split with Heike the vet and call off the wedding, Alistair has come to the reluctant conclusion that his long-term future isn't on Scilly. He's decided he wants to pursue a career as a photographer and knows that must mean moving to the mainland. Meanwhile, Heike herself is also having to re-evaluate her life after her wedding plans had to be abruptly cancelled. She's throwing herself into any work she can find. Today she's visiting smallholder Pam Manning to check up on a young goat she delivered 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. You owe a lot to Heike. You wouldn't be here if Heike hadn't delivered you, my girl.
Pam, how would you manage without Heike?
I couldn't, because that was a very difficult kidding, and I would have lost the nanny and the kids. So Heike was on hold all day, and I would have lost both of them. So
it was a bit difficult because she sat down on her orifice, so it was a bit difficult to get in.
Thank you, Heike.
But I'm good with good kiddings. Do you know why?
Tiny
look at my
hands. Look.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
So that's a big help.
That's a big plus because
I
there's
can
no pain
go
to
in there.
Yeah.
Well, reasonably no pain, a tiny bit maybe.
And Heike, how's it going generally for you? Because you've not had the easiest of times, have you?
I'm all right. Yeah. I, you know, as long as I have some work to do, it's all right.
But you carry on regardless is what I think about you, because whatever has happened in your private life, if I ring you, you're here professionally, and that's what I respect you for.
It's a question of sort of getting on with life, carrying on.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what you're trying to do.
Graft on, don't you? I think you're sticking on and being here for us, which is what we're grateful for. Thank you.
Well, I love animals.
I know you do.
Unexpectedly single once more, Heike's again started to worry about her finances. She's decided to take any job, however small, to raise a bit of cash.
Yum, yum.
Meanwhile, things are looking up at the little Dibble and Grub restaurant. The sun is shining, and with their power now restored, business is at last picking up for Gaz and his partner Button.
Service, please.
When the sun's out, their restaurant has stunning views over the long Porthcressa beach. And enticing customers down from the main harbour area is much easier.
My goodness me, service from the management, that must be really special. How are you?
The only way for Gaz and Button to make a living here is to put in incredibly long hours.
Those days, you don't have the afternoon off, anything?
No, sometimes I try and, you know, just sort of sit down for half an hour or something, but yeah, it can be 7:30 in the morning till 11:30 at night, put straight through, but, you know.
Standing a lot of that time as well.
Yeah.
And there's another, rather more tricky problem with their lovely location. Neither Gaz nor Button have a driving licence, so getting all the goods they need to and from the restaurant is a slow and laborious process. Now Gaz and Button have decided that this primitive system of transportation is no longer sustainable.
To learn to drive for years now. Yeah, it's frustrating when you can't just nip somewhere and grab a case of something because we've got no transport at all in that way, so.
Do you think he'll take to driving well?
I reckon. Obviously, being a drummer, you should be fairly well coordinated, used to using his arms and legs at the same time.
So he's a musician, is he?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've always thought that should help, but that could be total nonsense, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you know, he's bright, he should be able to do it.
The Isles of Scilly is probably the most unusual place in Britain to learn to drive. There are no dual carriageways, no roundabouts, traffic lights, speed limits, or even signposts. And there aren't any driving schools or instructors. It's dusk over in the city of Truro, in the heart of mainland Cornwall. And in a house on the northern edge of the town, one man is feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction after spending weeks wrestling with a sticky problem. The head of the Methodists in the county, the Reverend Steve Wilde, has come up with an idea to boost the flagging morale of his remotest congregation. He's asking Methodists from every corner of Cornwall to join him in a trip he's planning across to Scilly to rally the spirits and show support for the islanders. And he's enlisting the help of a rather special old friend. First thing next morning, Steve digs out a battered old suitcase from the back of his wardrobe.
Let me just see how that looks. With that, I was wondering if I should put a little dog collar on you or something.
Oh, I'd like that.
Well, that would be funny, wouldn't it, if we did that, if we had you appearing with a dog collar. I'd be even better in a bishop's mitre. Yeah, well, I don't think we'll run to that, but I think we can have a little dog collar on you. Welcome, everyone, to the Isles of Scilly. It's good to see you. Well, yes, well, you can do your best.
Remind us who this friend is, Steve.
This is Clarence the Frog, and he is actually 28 years old, so he's been around quite a long time. People love Clarence.
And where are you going to be taking Clarence next?
The Isles are Scilly, and we're very excited about it. That's right. There's a big open-air service, God willing that the weather's good, because you don't never know, of course. And, yes, we're going to be speaking there, Clarence and I.
Is this a test, really, this sort of trip?
I think this trip is a bit of a test, because people have been really concerned. Wherever I go, people have been asking me about David and about the island. So what we're saying is, look, show your support, come with us, come across there. And, well, I really hope and pray they are going to. Certainly, if we're less than 50, I'd be very disappointed. This should be a time when the Methodist folks here in Cornwall, as it were, put the faith where their mouth is and say, yes, we're going to come, we're going to support David and the Methodist folks on the Isles of Scilly.
But just crossing your fingers and toes for the numbers, then?
I'm certainly praying that the numbers will be good numbers, and that we have a real day where the folks on the Scillys are encouraged and my Methodist folks in Cornwall are really encouraged, and we all come back home really rejoicing.
How are you at travelling on the boat? Do you get seasick?
Well, I've been known. Yes, I'm not quite like the good Lord who walked on the water, I'm afraid. No. I'm going to do my best anyway. Yes.
You've got Clarence to keep you.
I've got Clarence to keep me all right, and as long as I don't have a fried breakfast that morning, I think I should be OK, yes.
Steve's trip will be aboard the legendary old ferry, the Selonian, which leaves Penzance every morning for the 2.5-hour voyage to the islands. The ship has a very shallow draft to get into the little harbour on St Mary's, and if the sea is rough, it can be very uncomfortable. Steve won't have any idea how many volunteers will turn out to support his mission to Scilly until the last moment. A few days later, and Gaz from the Dibble and Grub restaurant has made a big decision. He's going to try to learn to drive whilst he still has time before the season gets too frantic. And a good friend has agreed to help him get started. Heike has the time and needs the work.
Heike.
Hello.
So you're going to give Gaz the lessons then?
Well, I try to. I don't know how many lessons he will need. That's the clutch, the left one. That's the clutch. Yeah. You always have to go right down. Yeah, otherwise the motor will make a sound like... Okay, which one of the pedals is the brake?
The middle one.
Yeah. And which foot goes on it?
The right one.
Yeah. Now switch the motor on. Okay, how do you proceed?
So take my foot off the brake and wang it on the gas.
Don't use words like wang.
All right.
Okay. Oh, almost. Okay. Go slightly on the gas and go slightly off the clutch. Okay, then try. Very good. Oh, you've done that before. Good. That was it.
Gaz's first attempt at forward locomotion comes within millimetres of disaster.
We didn't bump the car. Great.
No, we didn't bump. That was my emergency brake.
Over on the quay in Penzance, the most westerly port in England, the Reverend Steve Wilde is in jubilant mood.
Oh, well, I've got a lot good today. I'm preaching today, you see.
More than 150 people have joined him from all over Cornwall, 3 times what he'd expected, for the morale-boosting voyage to Scilly. And all looks set fair.
That's amazing. It's going to be a good journey. It's really still... And hallelujah, we've got a full house. I'm really delighted. Everybody's turned up. People we didn't even expect have turned up. It's just really good. We're going to have a wonderful day today. It's going to be excellent. This is going to be a real affirmative action by the Methodists from the mainland for the Selonians. And I hope that we're really going to give them a really happy time.
The centrepiece to the day will be a big open-air service Steve will take beside the harbour on St Mary's, to which all the islanders are invited. And guess who will be taking centre stage?
Listen, this is a first, all right? This is the first for your boat. Are you ready? You've never seen this before. Here we go. Here we go. Clarence the Frog. Well, it's nice to be here, lads. I want to steer the ship. There you go. There's the wheel. There's the wheel. Let's put the frog at the wheel. Here we are, Clarence. Oh, this is brilliant. Absolutely marvellous. Captain Clarence. Oh! Oh, yes! Thank you. Oh, I really am Captain Clarence now.
The key question now is exactly how will Steve's individual style of preaching go down with the islanders?
And the sailor said to the captain, "Yes, sir." No.
And will they end up loving or loathing Clarence the Frog?
I can see them now. Oh, Clarence. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Back on Scilly, and Gaz's first driving lesson with Heike seems to be going from bad to worse.
What do you have to do when you go left?
Indicate?
Yes. You indicate. Indicate. No, indicate on the car. Because you want to turn left here. Okay. And go. Brake, yeah.
I reckon I can roll back to the pub from here.
No, no.
After a while, though, Gaz starts to get the hang of it.
Very good.
Oh, I'm not as bad as you thought, am I? Oh, I don't answer that. No need for that. Okay. I haven't looked in my mirrors once. Is that a bad thing?
Yes, you should always know what's behind you.
Aren't you supposed to tell me that?
Sorry.
It's all right.
Totally forgot. Yes. Turn a little bit more to the...
Then, inexplicably, Heike takes Gaz down the narrowest lane on St Mary's.
I'm sorry, but your face, I could not concentrate on anything else.
I think we're bogged down now.
Are we?
Well, it might be. First gear.
Oh dear, this is not what Gaz had in mind. Within a very short space of time, this has turned into the driving lesson from hell.
You're not only bogged down, also the car doesn't start anymore.
What a shambles.
In the next programme, the weather, once again, plays havoc with hopes for a successful season. For Glyn, the long-suffering island busman, it could be the start of a disastrous summer.
Actually, I got some good news and I got some bad news. The good news is my windscreen wiper works. The bad news is it don't touch the windscreen. So we better stay here till the sun comes out.
Borza. Tekes. Gui.
David makes a few key decisions about his future.
I've decided that I'm going to make this an opportunity to do something different. I want to go somewhere very different from here, and also something that's different from what I've done before.
So you're not searching for a remote island community?
Well, I don't think there'll be many Methodist island communities as remote as this. I'm looking for something challenging, something stimulating. No, I want to go somewhere quite different, really.
And for Heike, things go from bad to worse. Now comes the sudden death of her much-loved bull terrier, Leo.
For the first 2 days, I just cried and cried, you know, and everybody I told, I started crying again. Terrible. Normally, I don't cry because I'm German.
But you did cry?
Yeah.
On the Isles of Scilly, unpredictable weather bedevils the start of the all-important summer season. Not that that puts off the redoubtable island busman Glyn for a moment.
Now this is a nice time of the year to come to the islands. We've still got the subtropical plants that are in bloom.
Mad dogs in England.
A large group of churchgoers from all over Cornwall are on a morale-boosting voyage to Scilly. Head of the county's Methodists, the Reverend Steve Wilde, has a few unusual ideas on how to cheer up the islanders.
Oh, I really am Captain Clarence now. Ship ahoy! Oh.
And the island's minister, the Reverend David Easton, unexpectedly finds himself in a completely different country. If he can just master the language, a whole new future here could beckon.
Diolch osgwelach. It's no good holding back and being shy and embarrassed about it, but you just got to just get out and start speaking it, even if you make a complete fool of yourself, really. But it's going to be a challenge, but then I'm up for it.
The old Silonian ferry arrives at St Mary's Harbour after a mercifully calm 2.5-hour voyage from Penzance.
Everybody all right?
The Reverend Steve Wilde had hoped about 50 supporters might join him on his one-day pilgrimage to the remote Isles of Scilly. Much to his amazement, more than 150 have turned out. They've come to raise the spirits of the island's beleaguered Methodist minister, David Easton, who in a secret vote has been unexpectedly told he must leave Scilly.
Hey, come here.
And in a gesture of solidarity with David's island congregation, many of whom are still upset and angry at the method of his dismissal.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Isles of Scilly. And a special welcome to all those Methodists from across Cornwall and others who are not Methodists who've come over for the day for this special outing. And I'm very pleased especially to welcome my friends, long-time friends, Stephen Wilde. I was glad he was wearing his hat. I said to him, I hope he didn't have to use it too much on the boat coming over. But anyway, I welcome you whether I know you or whether you've come here for the first time. I really give you a very warm welcome on behalf of the Methodist community and indeed the whole of the islands. We're really pleased to welcome you here today. I'm going to hand over now to Stephen.
Thank you very much.
In the hope of getting the service off to a cracking start, Steve decides to waste no time in introducing his special guest.
You know that we've sailed over here today? Well, you're going to be surprised about this, but I've actually got the captain with me. He's in this suitcase, because here we are. The new captain for the Isles of Scilly Steamship Company is Captain Clarence. give him a cheer.
This could be a high-risk strategy. Clarence has been all over Cornwall with Steve, so he's well known on the mainland. It's not at all clear how Steve's unusual companion will go down here on the remote Isles of Scilly.
Well, Captain Clarence, we're delighted to have you with us today. Well, it's just great to be on the Isles of Scilly, and lovely to see you all.
Over on the other side of the island, Heike the vet is earning a bit of extra cash by giving her friend Gaz a driving lesson.